Hey there, Old Bull here. Today, we're going to reflect on something that cuts deeper than most folks are willing to admit. Poverty is a state of mind. Just let this play while you relax, drive, clean up, or do whatever else you need to do. This ain't noise, it's fuel for the soul of a real man. You've been lied to your whole life. They told you poverty was about money, about where you live, what you drive, or how many zeros are in your bank account. But I've met men with brand new trucks and hollow souls. I've met others who sleep on worn-out mattresses, but carry the fire of kings. The truth no one dares to say out loud is this: poverty starts in your thinking long before it touches your wallet. And if your mind's been conditioned for lack, no paycheck in the world will save you. This isn't just about wealth, it's about identity. It's about the man staring back at you in the mirror and asking, am I living or just surviving? It's about the weight you carry in silence, the exhaustion, the doubt, the quiet fear that maybe this is as good as it gets. And that's the danger of a poor mindset. It convinces you to settle, to shrink, to surrender. But what if the chains you feel aren't financial, they're mental? What if the breakthrough you've been chasing doesn't come from hustle, but from clarity, from cutting through the noise and rebuilding your values from the ground up? In this video, I'm not handing you some quick fix. I'm giving you a torch. You decide if you'll use it to light the way or keep stumbling in the dark. Because once you understand that true poverty is spiritual, emotional, and behavioral, you'll never look at success the same way again. There was a time in my life when I believed I had to have more money, more recognition, more stuff, just to feel like a man. That belief didn't come from wisdom, but from fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being forgotten. I carried it like a saddle packed too heavy, every step of the trail pressing me lower. The truth is, most of us are taught to confuse need with worth, and that confusion is a trap, one that keeps even strong men shackled. You ever seen a man lose his mind over something small? Like not getting the truck he wanted, or feeling ignored by someone he barely knew? That's not strength, it's quiet pain. It's emptiness pretending to be ambition. When we're driven by need, we don't lead, we chase. And there's a big difference between being a provider and being a prisoner of approval. Real manhood begins when we decide we're done chasing ghosts. A strong man learns to sit in silence, in solitude, and ask himself, would I still be enough if nothing changed? And if that answer shakes him, then that's where the work begins. It's in those moments, with pipe smoke curling in the mountain air, where a man meets his own reflection, not in the mirror, but in the wilderness of his soul. And when he no longer needs to prove anything, he becomes dangerous in the best way. Because that's when he can finally start trimming the fat, especially the kind that's been weighing down his spirit. You can spot a man's future by watching how he spends his mornings. Is he drifting through habit or walking with purpose? I've known men with pockets full of cash who still felt poor because they lacked clarity. Prosperity isn't measured in the weight of your wallet. It's measured in the weight of your awareness. A man without intention is like a rifle with no aim, dangerous, loud, and likely to wound the wrong target. Real abundance starts with knowing why you're doing what you're doing. I've seen fathers work 3 jobs, not to buy luxury, but to build legacy. I've seen older men with worn boots and sun-scarred skin who had little money, but left behind something richer than gold: respect, responsibility, and a name that meant something. See, the problem isn't wanting to prosper. The problem is when we chase it without conscience, when we sacrifice sleep, peace, or integrity just to appear successful. That ain't manhood. That's desperation wearing a suit. If you want to prosper, start with your thoughts. Are you building from pride or from purpose? Every campfire I've ever lit taught me the same thing. Flames without control become destruction. But when tended with care, they give warmth, light, and survival. That's how real prosperity works. It begins inside, quiet and steady. And if you stoke it right, with discipline, gratitude, and grit, it'll outlast any storm, even the kind that rolls in when no one's watching. You ever walk into a man's home and feel like you stepped inside his mind? I have. I've seen cabins where every tool hangs in its place, boots lying by the door, coffee brewed fresh, and a stillness in the air that speaks louder than words. And I've been in houses 3 times the size, filled with noise, clutter, and a kind of sadness you can't mop off the floor. The truth is, your space tells on you. It whispers what kind of man you are when no one's looking. When I was younger, I didn't see the point in making my bed. Thought it was just a chore. But over time, I realized something powerful small. Order creates big momentum. A made bed becomes a clear desk. A clear desk becomes a focused mind. Before you know it, you're making better decisions not just in your home, but in your life. Organization ain't about looking fancy. It's about building a life that runs on intention, not chaos. It's about treating your space like a reflection of your soul, because that's exactly what it is. So if your truck's a mess, your gears scattered and your clothes sit in heaps, don't just clean them, ask why they got that way. What are you avoiding? What part of you feels too tired to care? Maybe it's time to sweep more than the floor. Maybe it's time to clear the mental clutter too. Because a strong man and honorable, steady, Christian man carries not just the weight of his life, but the responsibility to walk in order. And when a man walks in order, he leaves footprints others can follow. I've known men who didn't have $2 to rub together, yet they stood taller than CEOs. Not because of what they owned, but because of what they believed. A man can live in a trailer, chop his own firewood, fix his own truck, and still be rich if his mind is free. But put that same man in a mansion with a poor mindset, and he'll turn paradise into prison. Poverty of the mind, now that's the real trap. You can escape a small town, but you can't outrun small thinking. Mental poverty sounds like this: I'll never be more than I am. People like me don't succeed. Why even try? It's a sickness, a slow poison. It steals a man's will before it ever touches his wallet. And worse, it becomes inherited. You see it passed from father to son, like a broken compass that keeps pointing nowhere. A poor man who believes he's capable can break that cycle. But a man with every advantage and no vision, he's already lost the fight. It's not about pretending you're rich. It's about acting like your life matters, even when it's hard. Read books that stretch your thinking. Write down goals, even if they scare you. Speak life over your family. Fix what's broken, even if you didn't break it. That's wealth. That's real strength of character. Because once a man clears the weeds from his mind, it's easier to plant something that can grow. And the moment that happens, he begins to see value in things beyond status or stuff. And he starts shedding the need to cling to either. Man's life is a mirror of what he believes to be true about himself, about others, about the world. You show me a man who's convinced he'll never rise, and I'll show you a man who'll sabotage every chance he gets. Not because he's weak, but because his map was drawn wrong. Somewhere along the line, someone told him he was just average, not meant for more, and he believed it. That's the real wound, not the words, but the agreement. And we carry those silent agreements deeper than we realize. I used to think certain things were just the way it is. That I wasn't good with money. That I'd never be close to my father. That my anger was just part of being a man. But those weren't facts. They were inherited scripts. And they played out until I tore them up. If you've ever found yourself in the same argument, same dead-end job, same regret over and over, that's not bad luck. That's a belief running its loop like a tired horse on a worn trail. And unless you stop it, your sons might ride that same path. But here's the power most men forget. Beliefs can be rewritten. They don't have to be loud. They just have to be true. Start small. I am capable. I can break this pattern. I am not my father's wounds. Say it until your heart starts to believe it more than your scars do. That's the beginning of a real legacy, not just surviving, but reshaping the direction of your life. And when you do that, something shifts. You no longer feel the need to cling to broken identities. You start walking away from them quiet, steady, and free. A man can fool the world with a firm handshake and a forced smile, but his body never lies. The way he breathes, the way he walks, the weight in his eyes, those tell the real story. I've seen strong men fall apart not from failure, but from exhaustion they never named. And I've seen old souls glow with vitality, not because they had perfect health, but because they honored their body like a sacred gift. Abundance isn't just about what's in your bank. It's about what's running through your blood. I don't say this as some fitness preacher. I say it as a man who once ate his pain with sugar, drowned it with liquor, and masked it with silence. I've felt the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. But there came a day I looked in the mirror, beard untrimmed, eyes hollow, belly soft, and realized I was breaking a covenant with myself. That's when I started walking again, cutting the junk, drinking water before coffee, lifting something heavy, breathing deeper, listening to my heartbeat instead of numbing it. Discipline is a kind of love, not punishment. A strong man respects his limits, but he doesn't surrender to them. He doesn't need to look like a carved statue, but he needs to move like a man who still wants to live. The same goes for emotional health. Carrying silent rage or regret will poison your system more than any processed food. So talk to someone, journal, sit by a fire, and confess to yourself. Being tough doesn't mean being numb. True abundance shows in your stamina, your presence, and your peace. And that peace becomes easier to protect when your body stops screaming for help. There's a lie that floats around in quiet corners, dressed up in half-truths and bad theology, that to be a good man, you have to be broke. That real virtue lives in lack. I don't buy it not for a second. I've seen Christian men with rifles and calloused hands build businesses that fed their towns. I've watched grandfathers pass down land, wisdom, and honor to their sons. Wealth, when earned with clean hands and a steady heart, doesn't corrupt it. Reveals. It's not the coin that's evil. It's the man who refuses to ask why he wants it. I've turned down money that didn't sit right with my conscience. And it hurt. Especially when the bills were high and the firewood low. But every time I stayed true to my gut, something better came. Not always bigger, but better. That's the legacy I want to leave, one where my kids remember a father who never sold his soul for a bigger truck. Where my wife knew her husband walked with purpose, not just profit. A good man doesn't chase every dollar, he lets the right ones find him on the right road. If you're building something, be it a side hustle, a ranch, or a reputation, ask yourself, would I still be proud of this if it were printed on my tombstone? Because that's what real wealth is. Purpose, integrity, alignment, the cowboy who stands firm when tempted, the husband who honors his vows, the older man who gives without strings attached. That man is rich beyond measure. And the beauty of it? When your wealth comes from your values, you don't have to keep looking over your shoulder. You just keep walking forward, with peace in your saddle and fire in your chest. You ever notice how some places just make you feel heavier? Like the air itself carries regret, noise, and tension. I've walked into homes where every object screamed neglect, where even the coffee tasted tired. And I've sat on old porches with barely 2 chairs and a dusty lantern, and felt more peace than a 5-star hotel could ever buy. That's not magic. That's vibration. It's the silent pulse created by how you treat your space, your time, and your soul. And like a guitar string, if you're out of tune long enough, you'll forget what harmony feels like. It's not just about where you live, but how you live. Are you the kind of man who yells when silence would do? Do you leave dishes to rot because you're too worn out to care? Does your truck sound like your mind cluttered, neglected, rattling down the road? Look, I'm not saying every day needs to be perfect, but order attracts peace. Clean boots, trimmed beard, a fridge with more real food than wrappers. These little things shape your rhythm, and rhythm creates mood. And mood? Mood creates destiny, Whether you're conscious of it or not, start small. Sweep your porch. Fix that broken drawer. Choose solitude over noise. A campfire over a crowd. Don't just detox your diet, detox your habits. Your vibration rises when you stop feeding what drags you down. That's when people start noticing something different in you. They might not know what changed, but they'll feel it. And you'll feel lighter, more grounded. And just maybe, you'll start attracting the kind of life that matches the man you're becoming, rather than the outfit boy you've been trying to outgrow. A man's greatness isn't always announced by a speech or sealed by applause. Sometimes it's in the quietest gestures, the kind nobody sees but heaven. Holding the door for a tired mother. Cleaning up after someone else's mess without a word. Calling your brother just to check in. I've seen cowboys ride alone for hours just to deliver feed to a neighbor who'd fallen sick and never mention it again. That's not performance, that's character. And character is the currency that outlasts any economy. The world's full of noise. Men shouting for attention, craving validation, posting every good deed like a badge. But the strongest men I know don't need a spotlight. They shine in the dark. They fix things without being asked. They listen without interrupting. They show up when it's inconvenient. These aren't grand gestures. They're simple disciplines, done daily with heart. A real man doesn't ask, "What will I get?" He asks, "What's the right thing to do?" That's the old soul talking. That's what separates warriors from cowards in quiet battles. No one else sees Dot, so if you're waiting to make a difference, stop waiting. Bring coffee to your wife before she asks. Apologize first, even if your pride resists. Leave a place better than you found it, whether it's a cabin, a campsite, or someone's heart. These are the marks of true masculinity. They don't come with trophies, but they build legacy. They earn trust. They teach your sons how to be men and remind your daughters what a good man looks like. And before long, you realize those small things were never small at all. Every fire starts with a spark, and in a man's life, that spark is thought. Before you change your body, your habits, your finances, or your relationships, you have to change the way you think. No axe ever chopped a tree without the man first deciding he would swing. And most men fail, not because they're weak, but because they never made that decision in the first place. They wait for motivation, for signs, for someone else to fix it. But real change doesn't knock, it waits for you to open the damn door. Remember a time I was stuck, burnt out, bitter, and blind to the fact that I was the problem. Not the weather, not the government, not my past, me. And that realization hurt like hell, but it also freed me. Because if I was the problem, then I could be the solution. So I started doing small things with big intention, writing goals, saying no to what drained me, lacing up my boots and walking when I didn't want to. A man doesn't rise because he feels like it. He rises because he decides he won't stay where he is. And here's the truth, friend. Your outer world will always catch up to your inner one. If your mind is cluttered with defeat, your life will reflect it. If your mind is sharp with belief, your world will start bending to that strength. You don't need to change everything overnight. Just start with one thought, one action. Clean your room. Make that call. Forgive yourself. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. Because the man you're becoming is already inside you. He's just waiting for you to show up and take the reins. So now the question is, what are you going to do with this? Are you going to let it pass like another video that felt deep for 5 minutes and then got lost in the scroll? Or are you going to act? Are you going to clean your room, fix your posture, get your house and your mind in order? Or are you going to keep blaming the world for wounds you refuse to heal? Because let me tell you something, brother change doesn't wait for perfect timing. It waits for courage. Maybe today's the day you stop being a prisoner of your upbringing, of your excuses, of that tired old voice telling you you're not enough. Maybe today's the day you prove it wrong. Now tell me, what are you holding on to that's keeping you poor in spirit, in body, in life? Let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if something in this message hit you deep, don't walk away from that feeling, follow it. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep walking this path with me. This ain't just about watching videos. This is about becoming a better man, one decision at a time.